supports Bernie Sanders. We're probably going to have about 10 minutes of talk time here, so let's try to be respectful and of each other's talk time, and we all get something to say. Barney Frank, I'm going to start with you. And by the way, as in any debate, feel free to ignore my question and make any point you want in favor of your candidate. But what I'd begin with is just in a closing argument tonight for Wisconsin, what would be the number one point you would make to Wisconsin voters? And Nina, I would ask you the same thing after Barney finishes. Go ahead, Barney.
Well, there is pretty close agreement on what we want to do in terms of goals on the Democratic side. It's a lot more coherent than the Republican side. The question is, who's a better change agent? And I know the Sanders people are claiming that because of the militancy with which he makes his case, his purity, that he's a better one. But that's not the verdict of almost everybody in the country who has been working hard and effectively for the change we've been able to get. Look at, for example, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, the gay and lesbian members. Now, there are about 70 of those. About 65 of them are for Hillary Clinton. 2 are for Bernie Sanders. There are dozens of African-American and Hispanic members who serve with both of them. All but 2 are for Hillary Clinton. The organizations, Planned Parenthood, the Human Rights Campaign, and it has to do with how you bring about change. Senator Sanders' approach has been to say, look, I will state what I believe, and I'm not going to compromise, and that's it. What he states, he understands, is going to be hard to enact. He, in fact, himself acknowledges that it will take a revolution to get what is done. That's why he is, in fact, so critical objectively of President Obama. The health care bill that was passed, financial reform, those were tough, hard things to get done. Senator Sanders voted for them. If he had some very drastic alternatives, he didn't make a very effective effort to get them done, but he now denigrates them. And so that's the difference. The people who have been working in the Congress, and I'm not talking about some establishment, I'm talking about the most effective liberals, people on the left, as I said, the Black Caucus, the leaders in the fight for immigration, the leaders in the fight for same-sex marriage, the leaders in the fight for economic justice, overwhelmingly, based on having worked with both of them, they are for Hillary Clinton. And there is, I think, a difference in how you approach things. I think Senator Sanders opts for kind of the purity of the statement, and it makes some of his people feel good. But if you look at the groups in our Democratic coalition who have a lot on the line, they're overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton.
Nina Turner, what would be your number one point to Wisconsin voters tonight?
I think the number one point that Senator Sanders has made and will continue to make is that he has been a consistent and honest champion against trade deals that take away jobs from folks in this country, in particular states like Wisconsin, where those trade deals have devastated. Senator Bernie Sanders has been on the picket line, not just talking the talk with the House of Labor and whispering sweet nothings in their ear when it comes time for election, but he has actually put his body on the picket line with those workers. So those are some of the things. And I certainly disagree with the congressman. There may be many people standing that are part of the elected ministry in the establishment, standing on the side of Secretary Clinton. Some of those folks I've worked with. But the bottom line is this. There are millions of Americans in this country who believe that change needs to come, that the status quo cannot continue, that people are suffering in this country. And Senator Bernie Sanders has a proven track record of having the good judgment and standing up for the least of these when it is not convenient. So it is unfair. And Congress people like Keith Ellison, I would take his endorsement any day. And he has endorsed Senator Bernie Sanders, and that is a big deal. There was a time in this country where the majority of folks thought slavery was okay, too.
Barney, go ahead.
That last comment just baffles me, and it's going to take me about a week to figure out what that was supposed to mean. But as far as Keith Ellison is concerned, I admire Keith. I've just signed an email for him. But he's 1 out of 45 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and every other one is for Hillary Clinton. So you talk about the establishment. No, I don't think John Lewis, one of the great moral leaders of my generation, who's a strong Hillary Clinton supporter, is the establishment, not in a bad way. Or Luis Gutierrez, who's led the fight for immigration. I understand, and maybe this highlights it. Yes, Senator Sanders was on the picket line. And that's a good place for people who are in labor. But what we want, if we're going to make progress, is to be effective within the way government works and to mobilize support for that. Yes, of course we want change. Hillary Clinton is as committed to change as Bernie Sanders. So is Barack Obama. The problem is that Senator Sanders has denigrated the kind of change we were able to get because his mode of operation is, in fact, the picket line. And if you look at, people made a big point about how no senator was supporting Ted Cruz until the Trump horror overtook them. Well, no senator is supporting Bernie Sanders, and that includes a lot of very committed, non-establishment types. So there is a difference in how you get things done. There is no great difference in where you want to go. But the overwhelming judgment, and by the way, it's not just people in Congress, Planned Parenthood, the Human Rights Campaign, leading environmental groups, leading budget fairness groups, they prefer Hillary Clinton because they do appreciate, yes, Senator Sanders speaks out, but simply articulating your position and not doing the hard work of getting legislation done, which means compromise, which he has a hard time doing.
Okay,
that's a problem.
I'm sorry. We're going to have to squeeze in a quick commercial here, so we'll have more talk time on the other side of it. We're going to have more with Barney Frank and Nina Turner in a moment. Back with former Congressman Barney Frank, who supports Hillary Clinton, and former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, who supports Bernie Sanders. And Nina Turner, to Hillary Clinton's point and to the point Barney was just making, that Hillary Clinton is the one who is better equipped and has a better record of actually getting things done than Bernie Sanders. What's your response to that?
You know, Lawrence, it really is patently unfair for the congressman to say that Senator Sanders has not been a part of getting things done in the Congress. Let us not forget that he was on the committee that heard the Affordable Care Act. As a matter of fact, helped to make the Affordable Care Act a reality. And the senator is not against the Affordable Care Act. The only thing is that he is saying is that in this country, there are still 29 million people who do not have health care. And let us work for universal health care in this country. So it is patently false to say that he wants to do away with it. It's patently false to say that he is against the president. The congressman and I both know that Senator Sanders has voted over 98% of the time. He has been right where the Democrats are. Let us not forget that one of the most comprehensive veteran bills that have passed in recent history was passed with Senator Bernie Sanders having a partnership with Senator John McCain. So he does get things done, but he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. And that is very important. And people are looking for that kind of change, that kind of righteous indignation in a leader that understands that the working poor and the middle class have been left behind in this country, that we have a corrupt system of finance that gives more speech to people who have money, and we have to do something about that. That is what they are looking for. He was the mayor of the city of Burlington, where he got a lot done. So he's been both an administrator, a member of the House of Representatives, and the member of the Senate, and he has a record to prove that not only can he work and compromise with people, he can get things done. But I don't think it is wrong for him to say that people have been suffering in this country, that people do deserve a living wage of $15 an hour. All of those things are important, and that is what he is fighting for.
Barney Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. In the first place, those are non-issues in the Democratic side. The higher minimum wage, increasing health care. There is a question about how you do it. The other point I want to repeat is, and I think this is relevant because Senator and I can talk about this and people listening, you have members of Congress, Democratic members of Congress, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Hispanic Caucus, gay members, advocates for health care, advocates for tougher financial reform. They are overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton. 2 of the black and Hispanic members are for Sanders, 5 total, but the and it's based on the view that she does better. Yes, we want to expand health care. Do you do it by essentially, as Senator Sanders began by saying, in effect replacing what we now have with a new system that it would be very hard to pass, or do you build on it incrementally? Incrementalism to him, and I think to some of his supporters, is a bad word, but in the American system, that's the only way you can get there. And let me give an example of what I think is his rigidity. One of the most important issues for Hispanics, and strongly supported for Democrats in general, is amnesty, a legal path to citizenship. There was a bill that passed the Senate that would have done that. But the only way you could get it done was to have a broader bill. And in fact, what happened was Bernie Sanders voted against it. Yes, he's for a path to citizenship, but he's against doing what you have to do in this American political system to get it done. And on the auto bailout, it is also the
Barney,
case.
I'm sorry, we're out of time for tonight. I hope we can continue this conversation. And Nina Turner, I know you have a response on that immigration point.
Yes, I do.
But we're out of time for tonight. Thank you both.